I want to read this quote from Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, who was asked by the media, hey, like, Matt going to be your quarterback this week? Bill's response, yeah, we're not making any changes. Yeah, because everything's really great. Now, I will say, earlier today I was having a conversation with a huge sports fan saying, like, hey, when's Bailey Zappi playing? Like, why don't they just play Zappi? And my response was, do people realize that at the end of training camp, the Patriots cut Bailey Zappi, and then no team claimed him, and the Patriots signed him back to their practice squad? Tyler makes a great point. People on Patriots, hashtag Patriots Twitter, you know, the cesspool of the internet, any like fan-based Twitter, they're calling for Malik Cunningham. Guess what the Patriots did at the end of training camp? They cut his ass too, and he went through waivers and they re-signed him. So it's like the Patriots don't think that their backup quarterbacks are good. You think they're benching Mac Jones for these guys? I mean, I think this is what it's going to be for a while, at least for the New England Patriots.
They got Will Greer too, right? No, they have Will Greer too on the roster now.
I guess they do. Well, to me, like, the Will Greer thing was more like, we're about to play Dallas, so Greer spent time with the Cowboys. Let's try and, like, get their inside information. Final.
And Belichick was like, I think Belichick was literally asked, like, what about Greer? And he's just like, he's not ready. Like, he's like, we could put him out there if we had to, but he's not ready. And I guess you could be like, well, was Mac Jones really ready? He's throwing pick sixes to everybody. But there is like, we talk about, like, yes, you can say quarterbacks are bad, but then I think when you watch DTR play the Ravens a couple weeks ago, like, there are levels to bad. Like, there's like, you can like run an offense functionally, and then you see DTR and it's just like we're not even close to there yet. Like, there are some guys where like that would be what it is, and probably most of the guys Patriots or fans are calling for, at least.
Like Mac Jones is just like normal bad. He's not like aggressively like 1-16
bad
type
starter.
bad. He's just bad. And to be fair, he's got nothing around him. He's not good, but he ain't got nothing around him.
The Patriots offensive line is probably like maybe like the worst in like their franchise history, honestly.
It's bad.
Like, they have had like a run of, like, even in the 90s, the offensive line was actually pretty good a lot of times. Ooh. And this offensive line is, by some accounts, like maybe the worst in the league. Like, the Giants is the worst, but like 31st. Like 30th. That's how bad it is.
That Rod Russ 1990 Patriots team that the Giants beat in Week 17 that finished 1-15. It's really bad, though, to your point.
The market is entirely 3, and the 3s in most places, MGM, couple domestics are the exception, but in most places the 3s are juiced toward New England, like -115 toward that, and that's been movement kind of throughout the course of today. We talk about this a lot, kind of like bad team. People just like buying the 3 because the idea is just like, really, like, you're going to have a bad team expected to win by more than a field goal against anyone. And, you know, like, if that's the case, you just say, like, no, like, I'll just take the +3 and, you know, I think I'm going to win more often than not. And that seems to be what's going to happen again in this game. Can't say for sure. Need injury reports, obviously, too, but early on, like, my guess is we kind of end up like 2.75 in the game. The total, for what it's worth, has stayed basically the same, 41.5. Belichick saying we're not making any changes. Music to my ears, because I liked the under a ton last week with the Patriots. I like the under a ton this week against the Raiders. Get ready for a lot of conservative McDaniels running and terrible 4th down calls and whatever this Patriots offense is. And the total starts with a 4, which is like pretty unbelievable. People be like, well, the Saints scored a lot of points last week. That was like entirely first of all, they had a pick 6 in the game, and that was like entirely predicated on like terrible New England decision making in like high leverage spots and turnovers, putting the Saints in really good position to score points. Like, organically, the Saints aren't going 80 yards on a lot of drives. Like, that's not really going to happen in any game that they play. Just got helped out by a bunch of mistakes last week. Maybe the Raiders can have the same thing happen, but I still I'm happy Belichick said that, because we don't have any new variables to consider now. Now I can just be like, I really like the under.
I just love Belichick. Yeah, we're not going to make any changes. Like, what are you going to build a time machine? Like, here's Tom Brady before we like alienated him, and here's Randy Moss and Wes Welker, and here's Gronk. Yeah, just like, what's going to happen here? Also, I know we don't have time to get into it. I actually think if Tom Brady came back to quarterback this team, I think they might be pretty good.
Raiders, a full 3-point favorite at home, a very low total in the game. I would argue not low enough, but still 41.5, with the Patriots offense being absolutely a disaster the last couple weeks. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, so let's start with the Patriots offense being a disaster, because that's the talk, right? Statistically speaking, everything has been a problem for them. If you look at Mac Jones in his career, he has a 2.6 turnover-worthy percentage. This season alone, it's 6.5%. It's more than doubled. They don't have a downfield passing game. They can't complete stuff underneath. They can't get the running game going. It's ugly. But we have to account for who they've played. They've played the Eagles. They've played the Jets. They've played the Cowboys. They've played the Saints defenses. These are never defenses that Mac Jones is going to beat. Like, over his career, he's just not going to have success against defenses that can rush for and generate pressure, or that can play tight to the New England receivers that just aren't very good. The Raiders defense is not that. They're just not. They're 25th in EPA adjusted for strength of schedule, 27 success rate. They've generated pressure at the third worst rate in the entire league. So I actually do think you'll see some positive regression from the New England offense this week. In terms of the defense, yes, Christian Gonzalez, Matthew Judon, that's concerning. I just don't like the Raiders offense. There's some familiarity here with Belichick and Garoppolo. That should help in planning. But right now, Las Vegas cannot run the ball with Josh Jacobs. And that just makes things so much more challenging for this offense. They still run the ball heavily on early downs. They forced Jimmy G to convert some third and longs. We've gotten to the point now where, like, we're saying that the Raiders are substantially better than the Patriots. I do not agree. I don't. And I think a lot of what we've seen from the Patriots right now is just quality of competition in those defenses. So give me New England +3. I've also played them on the money line in this game. I'm a big fan of the Patriots this week.
Like, who knows how long Kirk Cousins is going to be the Vikings quarterback? Like, if they lose this game potentially, like, season's probably done, and maybe Cousins, who's not under contract past this year, maybe he's playing for the Jets. We'll see what happens there. But until we get there, we got to get to this game. And Minnesota, less than a 3-point road favor right now at the Bears, who did win their first game of the season last Thursday against Washington. So Minnesota, Baldy, basically just like to win the game right now against Chicago. Total 44.5. Who do you think wins on Sunday, the Vikings or the Bears?
I kind of like the Bears right now. I like the way they're running the ball. I like the way the offensive line is protecting. Darnell Wright, Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borum, I mean, they played really well against Washington, a quality front. Minnesota presents one issue. They played well last week. They played very well defensively. It was probably their best game. But they got a blitz to do it, and it's a gamble. And sometimes you get the bull, and sometimes the bull gets you when they play that way. That's how they play. So it's a gamble against Justin Fields because he's throwing the ball really well right now. And if you miss with your blitz, like, he's going to run a long, long ways if he decides to run it. If you throw it, you're going to be a man coverage like, the Vikings were last week, and they got burned in a couple of times. But that's who they are. They're not good enough defensively to just line up and play defense. They got to gamble. And so how does Chicago handle that? But I think the Bears look like an overall improving team. Ever since the disaster against Kansas City 3 weeks ago, they played well against Denver. They played very well against Washington. They've had a little bit of time, 10 days to get ready for this. I expect the Bears to probably play the best all-around game, and I expect them to beat Minnesota outright in this game.
So this Sunday, where the 0-5 Panthers visit the 4-1 Miami Dolphins without Devon Achane, placed on IR by the Dolphins. We'll see how long he's going to be out. Mike McDaniel says he'll return this season. Miami, a little less than a 2-touchdown favor right now, Will, 13.5. The total's 48.5. I made a case earlier in the week. I think the Panthers can keep this game close. I thought Bryce Young played well in the second half against Detroit. What do you think we see here? What are you hearing right now about the situation in Carolina?
Yeah, I don't know that the Frank Reich thing, I mean, I think it's a little bit overblown just in terms. I mean, he definitely was like, David Tepper has his hands in the football operations, but that's not like necessarily anything that should surprise anyone who's been following the Carolina Panthers for the last 5 years. I mean, like, David Tepper, flew to hire Matt Rule, and David Tepper demanded that they trade up and draft Matt Corral when there was a string of quarterbacks coming off the board in the third round of a draft. Like, David Tepper's wife was on the media or the football personnel list for every single pro day this offseason when they decided which quarterback they wanted. Like, she probably had a 10 to 25% input with his direct opinion as to who they should draft a quarterback. So it's just a hot mess. Now, having said that, Frank Reich also came from Indianapolis. He may be throwing David Tepper a compliment. Like, yeah, this guy meddles, but at least he's coherent. I don't see how you can really bet the Panthers in the spot. This offense doesn't scare anybody down the field. I think if anything, you bet the over or maybe the I don't know. Like, it's cool that you made a case for it. I don't have any interest in it. I know the lines dropped back towards Carolina. I think 13.5, and Carolina's even catching a little bit of juice. I think if anything, maybe Miami sort of tries to dial it back a little bit with the loss of Achane, knowing that, they suffer some injuries. Jeff Wilson's still a little banged up. You don't want to really give Raheem Mostert, I don't think, 30 carries. I would think the under would be a look. I don't trust the Panthers to move the ball. Is what I'm trying to get at, and I don't see how anybody can trust them to move the ball. They don't have anyone who threatens vertically. And I was talking about this with Adam Gold. He's like, well, they need to challenge vertically. I was like, that's great, but they literally don't have anyone on the roster who can do it. And so the offense just can't attack you vertically. So you need some jailbreaks here, and I just don't know that they have the personnel to do it. I don't trust Carolina any further than I could throw you, Nick.
How far do you think you could throw, Nick?
Like 3 or 4 yards. Feet.
That's
3 or 4
like
feet.
if you dropped him, he would go 3 or 4 yards.
I gotta tell you. Let's just move. Will could not throw me 3 yards. I think Ken could throw me 3 yards. I don't think Will could.
So the 4 golfers so far: Spawn, Hostler, Højgaard, and Ryder. And we will call our shot. As much as we did when I said literally the winner of the tournament is going to be Luke List. I actually said that. That was pretty cool. The winner of this tournament. It's like everybody waits. The winner of this tournament is going to be Matt Wallace. That's actually who's going to win this tournament, who I haven't heard one person give out for, which is really funny for the show and for golf content in general. 80-1 is the best price on him. Plays in Europe a ton, has insanely good recent history there. Played last week, just not at the Sanderson Farms. Really good recent form. Has played this tournament before, only a couple times, but already has a top 15 finish and crushed a couple of the comp courses. Also a winner. Has won on the PGA Tour already this year. Winners, we like those guys. Luke List won a tournament already. We bet him last week. He played other non-winners. He won, and they lost. That's probably what's going to happen here. Matt Wallace, the fifth guy. So outrights: Spawn, Hostler, Højgaard, Ryder, and Wallace. And then 2 derivative guys real quick. This is top 10s, top 20s at big prices. Kevin Streelman, who has insane course history here, has slayed all the comp courses too. He's just really old and never wins. So you bet him about 350 top 10 or top 20, 8-1 top 10s. So it's like Troy Merritt last week. And then Scott Stallings, the guy who almost won last week, came in tied for second, was in the playoff. Just like the best course history, the best everything you can imagine for a guy for a derivative bet. Just not a winner. And I don't think he's going to win either. So big prices on him, derivatives to Streelman and Stallings.
All right, good stuff. What the hashtag card is what for this week? Like the best, 3, let's say. So it's Højgaard, Spawn, and who is the third guy that's on the hashtag card?
Højgaard is the guy's name. You said Højberg like Fred Højberg, which is really funny. So,
okay, that's his name.
Højgaard. Yeah, Nikolai Højberg, Fred's brother.
Yeah. Yes.
So you're going to want him because that's like Tyler's Call Your Shot guy, and I bet him. We both bet JJ Spawn. Should probably bet him
and
too.
And then Matt Wallace.
And then you got to bet Matt Wallace. Yeah.